Hello, New Life. My name is Melissa Cho. It will be Kim after I go through my green card and application and everything. So, wife of Dennis Kim and a member of Slovenia House Church, shepherded by Eric and Yang Huang. As you know now, our shepherds are stepping down for a season, and Dennis and I will be stepping in to serve. So I grew up in Vancouver, Canada, in a Christian home and was deeply involved in church until the Korean exchange program during my university years. Although it was where I first met Dennis, it also became the beginning of my drift away from God as I embraced the world and all its temptations. Years later, God brought Dennis and me back together. We married, I moved to Houston, and after our first child, CJ, was born, we decided to come to New Life because Dennis had attended in his mid-20s. To be honest, I initially came only for CJ, hoping church might help him make good decisions someday. Because Dennis already knew a few people here, he was warmly welcomed back, one of those familiar faces being Eric. And I will never forget the Sunday when Young gently came up to me, took baby CJ from my arms, and put him to sleep in the back of the sanctuary. I thought it was impossible, yet she did it effortlessly. From that moment on, we jokingly called her the baby whisperer. This was also her way of courting us to house church. At the time, I honestly did not want to go. I was shy, new to the city, and felt I had all the friendships I needed back in Vancouver. Why would I need new relationships? But God brought me to Texas precisely to bring me back to Him, and He used house church to do that. Through weekly gatherings, genuine community, and experiencing Christ's love through others, my heart softened. I was baptized for the first time, despite having grown up in church, because faith finally became personal. And through house church, God gave me a second family who celebrated our milestones and prayed for us during hardships. Over the past 8 years, our group has walked through so many moments together: joys, losses, transitions, and growth. Through it all, Eric and Young have remained steadfast, gentle, and unwavering in their love. When I experienced my first miscarriage, I think Young actually felt more sadness than me. And when I suffered a second consecutive loss, she drove 45 minutes without being asked just to bring me my favorite treats from Common Bond. It was such a simple act, but showed God's love in a way I'll never forget. Young is the kind of shepherd's wife who shows up, steady, gentle, and caring. She reflects Christ not only in what she says, but in the way she serves and is present. Together, Eric and Young have shown us what true shepherding looks like: humble, consistent, and rooted in Christ. They never served for recognition, but out of a love that comes from God. Their presence has always been steady and comforting, and they often sacrifice time away from their 3 girls just to walk alongside us. Eric and Young even sat through RJM sessions over and over again. Who does that? Yet they did, so that none of their members would walk alone. So thank you, Eric and Young, for showing us how to be shepherds in the way you've loved and served. As Dennis and I prepare to step into this role, we do so with both humility and gratitude. Although I feel inadequate to take over Young's role, I also know that God equips those He calls. I commit to praying faithfully for each member of our house church, to reading scriptures so that I may offer wisdom when needed, and to cultivating a servant's heart that reflects the example Eric and Young have set. My hope and prayer are that one day I too may hear God say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Thank you.
Hello, New Life family. As my beautiful wife has mentioned, my name is Dennis, and we're part of Slovenia House Church. And next month, by God's grace, we'll be stepping up to serve as shepherds. A little bit about myself. I'm a Houston native, born and raised, and like many of you, I grew up going to church with my family. Faith was present in my early years, but right around the time I entered high school, we stopped attending due to church division. Later, my parents found their way to the SBC side, while I attended a small church in Kingwood. It was there the pastor who happened to be my best friend's dad, that I received Jesus in my life and was saved. After college, when I moved back to Houston, my dad insisted I come to New Life. So in 2006, I did. I attended for several years, but eventually I drifted away. First, because of a job change, as I started to work for the family business. And as time went on, my walk with God became complicated. Fast forward to 2015, I married the love of my life, Melissa, rescued her from Vancouver, Canada, and brought her here to the great state of Texas. Then in 2017, CJ was born, and suddenly life felt heavy. I was overwhelmed by the responsibility of being a father, the pressure of supporting a family business, navigating marriage, financial responsibilities that I never faced before. And underneath all of it, I felt like something was missing. So I consulted with my dad, and he simply said, just go back to church. The peace you are looking for is with Jesus. And after talking it over with Mel, we decided to start attending New Life again. About a month in, I saw Young holding our 9-month-old baby like a hostage and saying, you should come to our house church, or else. No, I'm kidding. But to be honest, I've never shared this before. There was something about Eric that I naturally gravitated towards. Somewhere deep down, I thought, this guy might get me. See, we both are big, large Asian males. We know the struggle of fitting into small cars, finding small shoes that fit, getting stared at constantly, and constantly being asked, do you play basketball? I thought finally someone who understands. I could only imagine God was smiling at the moment. So here we are, 8 years later. I cannot believe how fast the time has flown by. We have received so much love and blessings at House Church. Stepping up to be the shepherd didn't feel all too scary. Still feels scary, but not too bad. It felt like joyful obedience. This house church completely changed my understanding of family. Growing up, family meant blood. Big gatherings of 30, 40 people celebrating birthdays and holidays together. A shared history, a shared DNA. But house church showed me something deeper, something more. We didn't just gather on Fridays, we did life together. We celebrated births, witnessed baptisms, walked through job loss, sickness, strained relationships, and mental health struggles. We cried together, we prayed together, we carried each other. If that isn't family, I don't know what is. Somewhere along the way, I realized I've shared more of my life over these 8 years with my house church family than much of my biological family. All that to say, all of you guys have become my real family. We may not share the same blood in a worldly sense, but we share the blood of Christ, which I believe is much more powerful. I want to take a moment and say thank everyone in our house church. Ju and Amelia, thank you for being there for us, especially when we're new parents, and all the times we annoyed you with silly medical questions. I'll never forget the late night call because CJ suddenly spiked a fever. We didn't have children's Tylenol, and you calmly walked us through what to do. That might have seemed small at the time, but it meant everything to us. Basie, thank you for showing us what joyful obedience looks like and for reminding us that following Jesus can be filled with joy. Ben and Jeanette, thank you for your friendship, for listening ears, and always being there when we needed you. Young, thank you for loving us so well, for showing up with treats and just checking in on us all the time, sending texts. You model what a shepherd's wife looks like, and we are grateful for you. And now for the big guy, Eric. Looking back, I know with full confidence that God specifically placed me with you. Given my personality type and where my faith was at the time, I honestly believe that if I had been shepherded anywhere else, my spiritual growth would have taken much longer, or worse yet, may have not happened at all. To give some context, I first attended New Life back in 2006, but during that time, I worked for my old pastor in a senior living facility. I was incredibly close to him and respected him deeply. After all, I was saved at his church. But over time, my perception of him and what it meant to truly meant, my perception of him and of what it truly meant to live as a Christian began to crack. I started guarding my heart. Faith felt theoretical, and I started to believe blind obedience was weakness. That's when God brought Eric into my life. What I started to struggle with was seeing the word lived out. Eric, you were the complete opposite of what I was used to. You didn't push us, you lifted us. You didn't demand obedience, you modeled faithfulness. You didn't lead with your words, you led with your life and your action. One moment that still lives vividly in my memory is when you lost your job. Weeks passed with no new opportunity, and I remember genuinely worrying about you. I even talked to Ju about it and said, man, I'm worried about Eric, and he's not even concerned. When I finally asked you about it in front of house church, you nonchalantly said, "No, man, I'm not worried. God will provide." You just brushed it off. I was in awe of that. How was that possible? Eric acted as if the future was already written. That was the kind of the faith that I wanted, I needed actually. The kind that doesn't panic, the kind that fully trusts God's character, not circumstances. And then there was the way you shepherded us for 8 years. You never complained, you never grumbled. You balanced family, career, and spiritual responsibility with such humility that you made it look effortless. You never took credit, you constantly deflected our praise and thanks, saying, "Oh, it's no big deal. Anytime, any of y'all would have done the same." Let me be clear, I wouldn't have reacted the same way. I would have said, "You're welcome. Yes, it was a big sacrifice, but I love y'all." What you displayed was consistency, faithfulness, a servant's heart. I know you well enough. You are probably thinking right now, "I didn't do much." Eric, that is not true. Thank you, Eric. I truly mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for showing me what it looks like to lead and follow Jesus. You were the type of gentle leadership I needed in my life. Moving forward, Melissa and I commit to praying for each one of you by name daily, or a minimum 4 times a week. We commit to being available, to making you our priority, and to reaching out to our VIPs so others can experience God the way we have. Because honestly, where else does this happen? Where strangers become family, where lives intertwine, where people together can grow in Christ. Thank you, Pastor Eric and Lynette, for leading and spreading the house church vision. Thank you for modeling servant leadership so consistently, something that I personally needed. Pastor Eric, thank you for your patience with me over the years. Thank you for your grace when I caused you stress in my younger days. And by God's mercy, I stand here today because of that grace. Lastly, thank you, New Life, for being a Christ-loving community where we truly love and support one another. Thank you.